All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And if we heard recently, First Republic Bank has fallen. Now we're going to see what the consequences of that is, along with other banks. Skip over here.
I don't think they're going to be able to raise capital, everyone. Their shares are absolutely tanking. They're becoming worthless. I don't think anybody would want to buy their shares anymore. Besides maybe Jim Cramer. The shares of many West Coast regional banks have been hit particularly hard since the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank in March. And this is what I tried to warn about, the contagion effect, the ripple effect, the domino effect. I said we're going to see more bank failures. And people, again, this is just the beginning. We're going to see hundreds of banks fail during this banking crisis. In part because the concerns of customer bases are similar. This week, First Republic was seized by regulators and sold to JP Morgan. The Los Angeles-based PacWest has roughly 750 million market cap and is down, look at this, 72% this year. On Wednesday, PacWest shares declined nearly 2% during the regular session and notched their fifth straight losing day. So look at this chart, everyone. We can see their shares have just fallen off a cliff. And if we go to the month, we can see it's not too much better. Go year to date, failure. Well, we got a few names here that I think could be facing failure, maybe even this week as well. So other regional banks declining extended trading following the report, with SPDR regional banking ETF shedding.
So as you can see, we have the banks that are falling, or they're slipping. We have, Kia Corp sliding 13%, Western Alliance 29%. No, my bad. Commercial falls 30%, Kia Corp falls 11%. Right.
On those gains. PacWest reported that the total deposits declined more than $5 billion in the first quarter to $28.2 billion as of March 31st. However, the company said it saw a net gain of $1.1 billion deposits from March 20th until the quarter end. I wonder if that was some of their friends just trying to prop up their balance sheet, or maybe getting some loans from the Federal Reserve. We all know it's pretty much over for PacWest. And also, again, like what we're seeing with the other banks have failed, a lot of these deposits are uninsured, so they're going to
Plus, it's, in 2008, we had a lot of bank failures in 2008, 100 plus bank failures, right? Perhaps even more. And that declined the recession. A lot of people are losing their jobs. But this recession or depression, or really collapse, economic collapse, is going to be so much worse. Because now this is a bigger economy than 2008 was, right? So the banks are bigger and the banks are more important, which means if the banks are more important now, they're going to have a more important impact on the economy. And not only on the economy, but on the American people.
Have all that big money getting taken away. And if everything was fine for PacWest, you would have think that they would have come out there to try to calm the nerves. But no, they declined to comment. But people, what really ignited this fire for the banks today in this sell-off was what the Federal Reserve did and what the Federal Reserve said, like I warned yesterday would happen. So let's have a look to see what the Federal Reserve is saying and what they're doing now, which is going to make it even tougher for the banks. So look at this. As expected, some people were even saying they're going to pause. I was saying no way. Fed increases rate a quarter point and signals the potential end to hikes. But they're speaking out of both ends of their mouth like they usually do. And when you actually go to their news conference and look at some of their questions, they're actually still saying, no, the fight for inflation is not over and there's going to be more rate hikes coming. And the reason why this is so important for the banks, because the whole reason these banks are in so much trouble is because these bonds, these mortgages that they brought in 2020, they've crashed in price. And every single time the Federal Reserve lifts interest rates, it makes these assets go lower and lower. So when the Federal Reserve said today that there could be more rate hikes coming, this sent a lot of shivers down the bank's spine and their investors. So here's some live updates from the meeting. So more rate hikes still possible, Powell says. The Federal Reserve could continue hiking if economic data points to central bank in that direction, Jerome Powell said. We are prepared to do more if greater monetary policy restraint is warranted. And he later added a decision on a pause was not made today, but said that change in statement language around future policy firms was meaningful. So that's exactly right, everyone. You're having the Wall Street bulls, you're having a lot of the analysts, they're begging for a pause. They know that this bear market is not going to last. They know that the fundamentals are not looking good for the markets at all. So they're trying to tell the dumb money, look, don't worry, the worst of it's over. The Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates. They're going to print money. Things are going to go back to the moon again. Buy, buy, buy. Meanwhile, the banks on the inside are selling. Because look at his next comment. He admitted the process of tackling inflation has further to go. The Federal Reserve Jerome Powell said on Wednesday that while inflation has improved over last year, the fight to tame price pressures is far from over. Inflation remains well above our longer run goal of 2%, Powell said. Inflation has moderated somewhat since the middle of last year. Nonetheless, inflation pressures continue to run, and the process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go. He added that expectations for long-term inflation remain well anchored, and that central banks remain focused on promoting maximum employment and strengthening purchasing power. Well, I don't think they're doing too good with either of those. Unemployment is going up, we're seeing more mass layoffs, and again, people's purchasing power continues to go down every single month. But the most key takeaway I think we should have for this meeting was Powell's comments on the JP Morgan takeover. And again, I think this scared a lot of the other smaller banks that thought maybe they were going to come to save them. Powell calls JP Morgan acquisition of First Republic an exception. He said,
"We waste 7 years of our lives trying to get to sleep. Stop wasting your time. Try the Mantis."
He said, I think it's probably a good policy that we don't want the larger banks doing big acquisitions. Well, I do think that's a good policy, and it's actually the policy right now. JP Morgan is not meant to have more than 10% of...
So, I'm gonna actually cut some of the video and explain. If you want, you could go watch the video itself. It's from Michael Cohen. Right, there you go. So, the thing is, JP Morgan bought First Republic Bank, but the Fed said that's an exception, that JP Morgan's not going to be buying every single bank that fails. You know what I'm saying? So, on top of that, a lot of banks are also going to fail too because the Fed wants to raise interest rates. Let's go.
9, and it went on all the way to 2011. So we didn't just see 4, 5, a dozen, 50, 100 banks fail. We saw about 300, 400 banks fail during the banking crisis. And a lot of people aren't admitting what we're in right now. Hello, look around, smell the roses. We are in the middle of a financial crisis, but they will not admit it because they don't want to cause panic. And again, I'm not here to cause panic. I'm just trying to warn people to prepare them, because the mainstream media, they won't warn you. They won't want you to be prepared. They'll be more than happy for you to keep your money in the banks and let the bank go under. And if you're an uninsured depositor, lose all your money.
Right, so, thing is, even if you are FDIC insured, right, it's not going to really matter, because the only way you're going to be able to buy or sell in the new system is with the CHIP, right? So let's get this right here. Okay, right here. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right, so let's go to the next verse. Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right, so thing is, you know, you may have a bank that's $250,000 insured for your money, but what's that going to matter when cash is worthless? What's that going to matter when the digital currency comes out and they tell you what to spend and when to spend it and how to spend it? Right, and where to spend it? Right? All this stuff isn't going to matter anymore. You know? For the old things are passed away. Right? Let's go here. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. All things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. Right? So in this system, in this Babylonian satanic beast system, you know, even though we're not really in the beast system yet, this system is, you know, very satanic and Babylonian. And it will soon be a beast system, if not already. Right? And according to 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, we are a new creation in Yahushua HaMashiach, right? So therefore, we are shutting off our old ways, our old traditions, our old customs, our old way of life, and putting on the new creature, for the old things are passed away, right? So this system of eating unclean stuff, or every single unclean thing that's put in every single ingredient. For instance, in the world does pig have business being in certain products, right? And thing is, you can't escape it. You can only keep the law and commandments to the best of your ability, right? Through Yahweh Shai that we are saved. Right? Where it says right here, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 to 9, grace alone, faith alone. Grace alone means that, you know, I think they kind of butchered that scripture a little bit, Slovakia. Let's go right here. Ephesians. There we go. There we go. Slovakia, Brennan. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 to 9. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Right. So even if we keep the laws, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability, right, we do whatever we can to the T, it is still through the grace, of Yahweh that ultimately we are saved. Because even if you do keep the law and statutes, commandments to the best of your ability, there's still going to be times on how in the world can you avoid eating pork. They keep putting it in toothpaste. They put in, I don't know, clothing. They put in brushes. You know what I mean? And trying to avoid, let's say you want a toothpaste that doesn't have pork. That toothpaste is going to be really expensive or more expensive. Or let's say you want a soap that doesn't have all those chemicals. It's going to be a more expensive soap. So you really do have to rely on Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, brethren. This is the only way out of the system, because we can't do it by ourselves. We can only do it through Yahweh Shai, alright? For Yahweh Shai is our covering, So these banks are gonna fail, and you just got to prepare for the system that's about to come. They're going to be enforcing the mark of the beast soon, so I'm just on one note, right? Let's see right here. I'm just on second Esdras. Chapter 6, verse 9. Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? So Esau, evil E, is the end of the world. So this age where Esau is ruling is the end of this era of his rulership. So that after Esau falls, then the era of Jacob, where Yahweh Shai rules, will come next. And the kingdom where Yahweh Shai rules, where Jacob is in rulership, will be forever and ever and ever. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai will have his grips on the new kingdom that will be under where Yahweh will put the kingdom under Yahweh Shai. And, as Israelites, we'll also have rulership in the new kingdom. So, At this point, brethren, we're just waiting for the end of Esau's empire. That's really it. We're just waiting, and we can't wait when evil E falls. So when the Sea Hip comes out, Lord willing, we're still right. Lord willing, I'm still right with the Lord in that time. He keeps me. And when that time comes out with the Sea Hip, we just rejoice because it's about our time to go soon, brethren. And Yahushua is going to be coming very soon once that Sea Hip is introduced. We're on a more commercial scale, on a more, worldwide scale, kind of like the Vicky was introduced. So, we're just waiting for the Sea Hip. We're waiting for Esau to fall. We're waiting for Yahushua to come back and for the new kingdom. So I hope this lesson was very edifying to the elect. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. And Shalom.